Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan Ostroff with Legalese Marketing. And to quote Rod Serling, this is a show that requires a little bit of a different introduction. Obviously, normally we talk with attorneys and other experts across the country about what it takes to truly be the exhibit A of a successful attorney. However, because we're dealing with busy and amazing attorneys and other experts, sometimes they get stuck in court. For example, that's what happened to our guest today. And so, to still try and drive you all as much value as possible, we took a presentation that's part of our course, and I'm going to do that off, I guess, sort of off the cuff. I've done the presentation before. So today we're going to talk about building a referral-based practice. To anybody watching this live, go ahead and if you drop any comments in the Facebook feed, I'll be able to answer them live on the show. For anybody watching this not live, I would say probably later today or tomorrow, we will have these slides available for download because there's going to be a couple other additions on there, and that will be at legalesemarketing.com/referrals. So Breezy, if you can drop that in the link, legalese.com/referrals. That will give you access to these slides as well as the 3 downloads that we are going to have in here. So with that, before I jump into it, I just want to give a shout out to, if you were looking for a really good interview with a fantastic guest who was way smarter than me, I would drive your attention to our last episode, which was Angela Hahn, where we talked about how you create your dream life as an attorney. And so we'll have the link for that in there as well. If you don't want to listen to just me for the next 20 or 30 minutes, you can watch that video. Otherwise, here we are with building a referral-based practice, and away we go. So this is the title card. Obviously, you know where you are. I just want to wait for about 5 seconds to make sure that the Facebook switched over. Yep, there we go. So this is me. Started out as an ASA, opened up my law firm in 2015, wasted literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing. Like, I wish I could tell you that was hyperbole. Unfortunately, it was not. Also during that time, we found out that my wife was pregnant with our kid, who will turn 3 tomorrow. So 17 into 2018 through the pregnancy, ended up collaborating with some marketers to develop a in-house strategy. From there, we started working with I started working with some other people that I knew locally just to see how much of it was transferable to everybody else. Seems like it was. And so in 2020, right before a great, wonderful COVID economic recession, global pandemic, we opened Legalese Marketing. So the ideally ultimate mix of marketing experts and legal experts to be able to translate legalese into marketingese into normal words for normal people so that you can get the best ideal clients. So we're talking about today that was running a referral-based practice. And obviously there are some things that we can do to help with referrals, but ultimately that's going to be on you. What we talk to a lot of attorneys about is referrals are the place to start. That's where you begin to build your business. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with referrals. Just at the point that you start your firm, you probably have a lot of time and you don't have as much money. And so once you get into having somewhat of about $5,000 a month buffer, then we can talk about what sort of digital efforts or other marketing efforts do you want to use with the money rather than using your time for referrals. So some firms will stay with referrals, some firms will add referrals to something else, and some firms will go away from referrals. But we're going to talk today about running a referral-based practice, how you build that really good long-term foundation. I want to make sure that you're aware of this. You have all of the answers. You will know your firm better than me and better than anybody else. So what we're going to do here really is just ask the right questions to help you understand those answers and then talk to you about how to put them in place. I would be highly skeptical of anybody who definitively comes in and tells you they know your law firm better than you. One of the things that we do at Legalese, we always talk about ideal clients, and then from that ideal client, we can create the right marketing plan. But ultimately, you're the one who knows your ideal client, or will help you fill out your ideal client, which will be something that you find in this slideshow. So in terms of running a referral-based practice, just with everything, there are pros and cons. Pro, the client comes in warm. In essence, they have spoken to somebody that they know, like, and trust and work with, who has then referred them to you because that referral source knows you, likes you, and trusts you. You're more resistant to competition. It's really hard for the big firm a couple towns over to come on board and then suddenly steal all your referral sources. You're going to get more consistent cases. The more referral sources you have, the more your slow times will be their busy times, or referral source A's busy times will be referral source B's slow times. So eventually it sort of balances out. For the most part, pretty consistently with law firms, we usually see like July and December being on average a little bit slower. People are on vacation, it's the holidays. But for the most part, you're going to get more consistent cases. Whereas if you're doing advertising, you're going to be at the mercy of how often people are on that platform, something along those lines. You have a lower cost of acquisition. There are plenty of people running very successful referral-based practices, spending almost $0. Maybe they buy coffee, maybe they buy lunch, maybe they host some events, something like that. And you're more resistant to change in the market. You're not worried about an algorithm update. You're not worried about a new platform. You're not worried about the internet going down. Any of those things might impact your referrals slightly depending upon how your referral sources get their cases, but you don't have all your eggs in one basket. In essence, you have your eggs in everybody else's basket. And so you hope that there will be enough wiggle room to overcome any of the problems that you see from there. So the downside, here's where we get into the downsides of running a referral-based practice. It takes time, and really it takes your time. We talked about businesses, you're balancing money and time. Referrals are pretty much all of your time and not so much money, whereas other referral sources might be your money or your firm's money and not so much of your time. It's on you. Look, there are plenty of firms that have multiple attorneys that generate that revenue, that make those connections, that build those relationships. But ultimately, either they have to stay at your firm for it to be worth it, or it has to be your time. You need to be consistent and you need to be likable. You can't just fall off the face of the earth. This is something we've seen a lot since COVID. Obviously, you have many states where you are unable to go out and connect with people in person still. But the best networkers, the real super connectors, the very successful people have gone to the internet just as much for referrals as for anything else. Whether that's doing Zoom happy hours, whether that's doing Google Meet lunches, whether that's connecting, virtually through social media, remotely, whatever it is. Because again, you need to be consistent. If you just stop contacting your referral sources for 6 months, 9 months, going up on a year now, for COVID, you're going to have a lot fewer referral sources because frankly, you're just not going to be top of mind. When they think about a need, you're not going to be the one that they think of to make sure the case makes its way to you. So likability, we'll talk about very briefly. What makes you likable? It's different for everybody. So really, what do I do that makes people like me? What makes people want to be around me? And the flip side being what makes me not likable? How do you accentuate the positives and minimize the negatives? For me, on the positive, I think I have a pretty good sense of humor. On the negative, I can be egotistical. So I like using self-deprecating humor sporadically when it's timely to explain that I'm not actually that vain, something along those lines. So you have to sort of think about what makes you likable. Maybe you're super nice, maybe you're super smart, maybe you're super funny, maybe you're super engaging, maybe everybody knows you and your likability is the fact that you have value by connecting people. But then look at the flip side of that about what makes you not likable and make sure that you are minimizing those negatives and accentuating the positives. So you have to have an intake system. And this is a big thing that we do at Legalese Marketing for all of our clients, some form of intake system. Ideally, that is going to be a CRM, a client relationship manager backed by automation. So an automated series of text messages, emails, something along those lines. But ultimately, what we have here on the downloadable intake sheet there is just an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, which will give you, their name, where the case came from, if they hired, what they paid, a couple things like that. You have to be tracking your cases. Every firm, if you want to grow, you have to track your cases so you know where things are coming from. You have to know where they're not, and that could be who they're coming from, or it could be what marketing efforts are working and which ones aren't. And again, it can be as simple or complex as you want it to be, but ultimately, the system that you actually use is better than the more complicated one that you don't. So for those of you that download this spreadsheet, legalesemarketing.com/referrals, the link is here. It'll be up in the next couple days. This will give you access to that spreadsheet. I'm not going to click it right now because I don't know what that's going to do to our feed, in all honesty. Breezy was awesome and put this together about 30 minutes ago. So we are doing our best to overcome the situation of court and other responsibilities and emergencies that come up. So the intake system helps you follow up consistently with leads. Albert Einstein said insanity is doing the same thing but expecting different results. So for us, it's doing different things but expecting the same result. What you see a lot is you see firms have these giant ebbs and flows. So ultimately, on months that they are slow, they follow up with all their clients a bunch of times, sign up a bunch of cases, get busy, stop following up, sign up no cases, don't get that busy, follow up with everybody. So the intake system is designed to make it consistent regardless of whether or not you're busy, so that you are getting consistent contact with clients, because all of this is an art. There is no science to generating business. It is all an art as far as I know. But you want it to be a science. You want it to be as close to a science as possible, because if you send the same emails at the same times over and over again, and the same text and the same follow-up calls over and over again, then you can really see what's working. Because if you sign up 50% of your potential clients by doing that system, and then you start calling people faster, we can see if you sign up 40% or if it goes up to 60. And from there, you can make changes and tweaks to your system to make sure it's as best as possible. And again, when I say system, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a computer program. It could really just be you or your staff sending emails off of templates, copying and pasting them, whatever it is along those lines. Ideally, it is automated because that's what allows you to scale and grow, but it doesn't have to be. So don't think that system is something that you can't do, even if you are just a true solo. So where do you start with being referral based? You have to come up with your ideal client. You have to come up with your ideal client. You have to come up with your ideal client. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't know who your ideal client is, you cannot focus on finding them, which leads to you wasting time, money, resources, and aggravation. As a lawyer, you do not help everyone. If you are sitting here thinking your ideal client is anybody, you will not be able to do anything that appeals to a specific person to get them coming in the door. This is very different when it comes to different areas of practice. For example, for personal injury, you could really work with anybody who has a car, but the more you target that down, whether it's demographics, whether it's location, whether it's age, whether it's platform, whatever it is, the easier it will be for you to get in front of people enough for you to be the one that they think of, for you to be top of mind, for you to understand what they need, for you to feel like you are speaking to them, etc. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. So we got an ideal client worksheet on here. It's a Word doc. I think it's 2 or 3 pages. It's got like 50 questions on there. You don't have to answer all of them, but at the flip side, those may not be the only questions that you have to answer about your ideal client, but this will get you in the mindset. What you're trying to do here is create your ideal client avatar. The more that you have that person in mind, the more that you understand them, the more you think like them, the more you can speak to them, the more you know where they're going to be. So you have to think about like what problems you want to solve, who has that problem, can you make a living solving that problem? Are there enough people with that problem who can pay me that I need to solve it, and then where those people are? And this is going to be, again, it's going to be ages, it's going to be demographics, it's going to be races or ethnicities, it's going to be jobs, it's going to be what they do during a normal day, it's going to be what their biggest fear is, what their biggest hope is, what does success look like after the end of your case? All sorts of questions like that. The more you have that picture in mind, the easier it's going to be for you to find them and speak to them and really convince them that you are the ideal attorney for them. So, for example, again, everyone is not a good enough ideal client. So even from the standpoint of like, let's say you do criminal defense, that may be too broad. Maybe you focus on DUIs. Even that might be too broad. Maybe you focus on DUIs for professionals in their late 20s to late 30s. And this way, you know that you're working with a more professional client. They want a specific result from you. They're concerned about how this looks for their mugshots. They're concerned about how this looks for their reputation. They're concerned about how this affects their job. They're concerned about all those things. You can speak to that person a lot easier than if you're just looking for anybody with a DUI, or if you're just looking for anybody who was arrested, period. Those are going to be a lot more broad. So there will be more people that have that need, but it will be harder for you to write the right advertisement and be in the right place where that person is to appeal to them. So that's why we talk about, niching down. It's not just in practice area, it's also an ideal client. So if you do not have a really good image of your ideal client avatar, download the slides, legalese.com/referrals, do the ideal client worksheet. Again, this is all totally free. We're giving this to you. I think you just have to put in your name and your email, and we'll email it to you. Nothing too crazy here. So the question becomes, when dealing with a referral-based practice, now that we have our ideal client in mind, it becomes, how many referral sources do you need? Most people are going to say one more, but that's not right. So what you need to do is take how much money you want to make, divide by your average case cost, multiply by your close rate, and then figure out how many leads you're going to get per referral source. So in an effort to make math as simple as possible, because I hate math, I'm a lawyer also, this is what we're working with. So let's say you want to bring in $1 million, and let's say your average case cost is $2,500 per case. That means you need 400 cases. If your close rate is 50%, that means you need 800 leads to get 400 cases at $2,500 a pop to be $1 million over the course of the year. So if your average referral source sends you 10 cases per year, so slightly less than one a month, you need 80 people. 80 is probably too large of a number. I would say if you have no referral sources right now, shoot for 50. That would be finding one new referral source every week for a year. That might get you where you need to be. It might not, but it'll get you a heck of a lot closer. And then you can address it a year from now. Like, okay, I have 30 really good referral sources. I need 80. So now I need 50 more. The biggest question that I get, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I want to touch on it now, is how much time do you spend with new referral sources versus old referral sources? And I always tell people, do the same ratio there. If you need 50 and you have 0 right now, you spend 100% of your time looking for new referral sources. If you need 50 and you have 25 now, spend 50% of your time with your current referral sources and 50% of your time looking for new ones. And when I say time there, I mean time that you are spending on networking. Obviously, I'm not telling you to spend, 70 hours a week doing this if you also have to do legal work. That's just not going to happen. What I'm telling you is, of the time that you are dedicating to networking, split it up that way. Always make sure you're leaving at least 20% for new referral sources. Always make sure that you're leaving at least 20% for new referral sources. So once you have your ideal client and once you have your number of referral sources, you do basically the same thing to figure out what referral sources you need. Who's your ideal referral source? So basically, it's who will your ideal clients go to when their problem comes up? Who do you need to know so they can refer your ideal clients to you? Start finding those referral sources now. And again, you can use a CRM for referral sources just as much as tracking clients. If not, we have a sheet. This referral spreadsheet, last I checked, I might be wrong, but I believe there's about 150 different job titles on there. And so you can go through and see who you already know to fill it in. And literally, there is massage therapist on here. There's chiropractor. There's a bunch of different kinds of attorneys. I think I'm on there as, quote, a good person to know, unquote. So it may not have all apply to you, but see how many people you already know that will fill in some of those slots, and see what other jobs, titles, ideas those job titles trigger for you. So, maybe you're doing first party property and construction law. And so we have contractor in here, but that helps you come up with 15 different subcontractors, the electrician, the plumber, the whatever it is along those lines. Add those to the sheet and then start filling them in. Ideally, I think at a minimum, you want 2 for any real true area that you're going to get a lot of need for. And you could probably work your way up to 3 to 5. So what I mean by that is, you may know one landscaper, and they may be your landscaping referral source for the once every 5 years where that comes up. But if you're an estate planning attorney, you're going to need financial advisors all the time. So hopefully you can get in a position where you might have 3 or 5 financial advisors that you work with consistently, and you're going to rotate through them to send cases in whatever manner makes the most sense. Usually I say a 2 minimum, up to maybe 3 or 5, so you have enough business to send to everybody while also having some differentiating factors. So for example, maybe you have a male and a female referral source. Maybe one's older, one's younger. Maybe one's on the north side of town, one's on the south side of town. Maybe one is a true solo and one's at a slightly larger company. Some differences like that will really help you figure out who you think's the best fit for this specific client, as well as helping you build more referral sources to send you more business. But remember, in the words of Game of Thrones, a Lannister always pays their debts. You should not be looking at this as, I just need as many referral sources as possible, to the extent that you can't provide any value back to them, whether that's cases, whether that's help, whether that's legal advice, whether that's connections, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you are connecting with few enough people to provide value to all of them, but enough people for you to be able to support the business that you want based upon the amount of cases that you're generating. So where do you find referral sources? We've got the ideal client. We know how many we need. We know what referral sources we're looking for. Where do we find them? First of all, your current network. And I think you'd be surprised to find out how many people really know what you do. Like hypothetically, let's say you have 3,000 friends on Facebook, right? Maybe 1,000 or 1,500 of them know that you're a lawyer, but maybe only 500, maybe even 250 of those actually know what kind of law you do, and probably even fewer really know your niche. So start thinking about who in your current network can you connect with more? Can you help share their story, tell them your story, work together to collaborate on a bunch of different things, and we'll talk about some specifics to really help you grow that connection and understanding even among your current network. Again, you may think that everybody knows you're a lawyer, and they might, but they may not know exactly what kind of cases you want. Networking events, obviously virtually for the most part here. The one thing that I do like about virtual networking events is you do really sort of weed out the business card bandits. And that is the person that goes around collecting as many business cards as possible for, I don't know, some apparent reason that makes no sense to me. So worry less about business cards, worry more about building relationships. So worry less about quantity of connection, worry more about quality of connection, especially at networking events. Ideally, a great networking event, let's say there's 50 people there or 50 people in the Zoom room. Ideally, you might know 15 or 20 of them, so a little under half. You don't know the other half, and you can sort of connect with some people you haven't seen and meet some new people at the same time. That's probably the ideal balance if you have total control. Another thing to think about leads groups, whether that's BNI or something similar, the difference between a leads group and a networking group is a networking group is more built around introducing people to other people and building a network. A leads group is really centered around sending leads to each other. It's a subtle difference, but it's still a difference. At the beginning, you probably want a leads group more because you need cases ASAP. In the long run, though, you probably want a networking group more because the networking group is going to be more people that look at a longer term impact of building those relationships as opposed to the shorter term impact of trying to send leads ASAP. You may find success in both, and honestly, you may find success in neither, but hopefully there's something in there. Excuse me. Another place is different organizations. Now, for this, ideally, your organization is going to be a collection of your ideal clients or your ideal referral sources. And trust me on this, you want there to be at least a couple other lawyers there. For example, we found a Chamber of Commerce, great people, wonderful events, really enjoyed it. There were no lawyers there. I thought I had hit the, lost city of Atlantis of referral sources. Oh my God, there's no lawyers here. None of these people know a lawyer. This will be great. Was in it for over a year, got absolutely nothing. Why? Because that's why there were no lawyers in there. People just were not in a position to find cases that a lawyer would need. The flip side is joining bar organizations, you're probably going to have the same problem for an opposite reason where there's only lawyers, so there's not as much stuff to pass. You want a mix of lawyers and non-lawyers, ideally maybe 90 not lawyers, 10% lawyers, something along those lines. Because remember, if they're already sending work to a lawyer, it's going to be easier for you to become the lawyer that they start sending cases to than it's going to be to train somebody what cases to look for and how to send those to an attorney. Especially because in, I believe, every state, if not most of them, we can't call first, we can't solicit, we can't start the conversation. So things like that will make it very tough. I can tell you the amount of times that I have had to tell or remind people in BNI or something similar that's like, hey, I cannot call your referral. I don't care what they said. I understand that I trust you. I believe that they said this, but ultimately it will reflect poorly on me if anything happens and there's a problem here. So they need to reach out first. As far as I know, we're the only industry that has that problem. So you have to deal with it as you will, which is why I go back to it is easier to get referrals from somebody that already refers to lawyers because they know that and then just make it you. Another great spot to find referral sources, social media. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm not used to talking this long. Normally I'm interviewing somebody else and they have to talk. So I apologize. I swear it's not COVID. So from the social media perspective, I think that a lot of attorneys focus on using social media to find clients, which is great. And there are certainly a lot of platforms that are really helpful. Business attorneys and lawyer marketers and other people that are dealing with business owners or professionals, LinkedIn's a fantastic platform. But how often are you using social media to find referral sources? Rather than posting, hey, I'm looking for a realtor on Facebook, maybe post, hey, I'm looking to build a relationship with a realtor. I believe that I will have clients who will need them, and I would obviously like to refer cases back to me, but we want to be, a trusted resource for each other, and see who comes up. Ideally, what will happen is multiple people in your already existing social media network will post the same person who is not them. That would be ideal. Because what that means is that person who all these people know has done enough things to stay top of mind in these people's minds that they went out of their way to post this person or tag them when you ask for a referral to what they do. The next one will be somebody tagging themselves. Still a ton of potential there. Ideally, though, I'd rather have somebody else recommend them because that means that they're doing a good enough job with the cases, with their referrals, with staying top of mind that other people think of them. I think it's a lot easier to think of yourself than it is to think of someone else. And so you talk about, knowing the differentiating factors that help other people think of you. But if somebody tags themselves, they could still be the best realtor or whatever it is you're looking for in your area. So I'd still connect with them and just see how the relationship goes. Think about what works best for you. If you are an introvert, perhaps social media or remote meetings are great. If you are an extrovert, perhaps networking events as soon as those come up or something along those lines would be great. Think about what makes the most sense for you. Maybe you like one-on-one lunches. Maybe you're more of a golf, 4 people playing golf at the same time. Maybe you're more of a 20 or 30 person group networking event. There's no right or wrong answer. The one that you like the most, you'll be the most comfortable at. The easiest it will be for you to go from there. Nope. Lost it, sorry. So find the places that are right for you and your ideal client. So business law, where there are a bunch of business lawyers, LinkedIn, but also chambers of commerce, but also economic partnerships, but also potentially political events. There might be quite a number of business owners interested in meeting with developers or something along those lines. First party property attorneys, those who help people sue their own insurance, homeowners insurance. Where are you going to find contractors and homeowners? Again, social media, but I'm sure there's also groups of contractors getting together. Maybe it's a union meeting, maybe it's some optional organization, maybe it's something along those lines. Same thing for title companies, realtors, mortgage lenders, homeowners. Where are they going to be at scale? And then go to those places, be in those places, market in those places, make connections in those places, etc. All right, so quick way on some extra referral sources. Friends and family. Friends and family can be very good referral sources. They will not necessarily consistently have referral sources, but they'll think of you enough that, the neighbor complains about something, they'll send them your way, something like that. Current clients. Current clients can be some of the best referral sources. Why? Because they've literally worked with you. They know ideally exactly what to expect as long as you're providing a consistent, way for them to work with you or a consistent level of work, then they will know what to tell the other person what to expect. So current clients can be the best referral sources. You will get varying levels of interest in current clients referring cases based upon what you do. If you are an immigration attorney and you help somebody get their green card or whatever naturalization they need or whatever it is, they should want to rave to all of their other friends and family trying to do the same thing. If you help somebody avoid being charged with murder, they may not want to tell their friends and family that that was the case to send them over to you. So be aware of that. And then I am of the belief, and this is something that I blatantly stole from Atticus or somebody else recommended it, so I give full credit to Atticus, which is a business coaching program for lawyers. Everyone you spend money on could and should send you business. So dry cleaner, lawn person, nail tech, process server, whatever it is. At the very least, they should be able to send you one case a year or connect you to somebody who can. Your dry cleaner might not have anybody come in with a personal injury case, but your dry cleaner probably works with other attorneys, probably works with doctors, probably works with, whatever it is you're looking for. And so try and leverage that relationship for at least a connection. At the same time, please, dear God, understand that I'm saying do the same thing for them. So when somebody needs a dry cleaner, send them to your dry cleaner. Make sure the dry cleaner knows that they came from you. Make sure that you are providing value. It should be really easy for you to provide probably 2-to-1 back to a lot of these people. So the dry cleaner, lawn person, barber, something along those lines. You should be able to do the same thing for them or more that you're asking them to do for you. All right. So where do you build connections? This is my saying, my position. I don't think it's wrong. This is how you should look at it. The best networking is doing what you want to do with who you want to do it with. The best networking is doing what you want to do with who you want to do it with. The more that you are focused on that thought, the less networking becomes work, and the more it becomes relationship building or net hanging out or net having fun or whatever you want to call it instead. But legitimately and genuinely feel that way by doing what you want to do with who you want to do it with. So if you like food or drinks, which I hope most people would, or at least you eat, make the other person pick where you go and then you pay. The reason for that is tenfold. So you will have people who will feel more comfortable having picked the restaurant. Maybe they have dietary habits or issues that they know they can accomplish at that restaurant. But also, for the most part, people are not going to pick to try a brand new place. They are going to pick an old, reliable place. So you get to try a new place, but they have been there. So maybe they know the owner. Maybe they know the wait staff. Maybe it's near their office and they have a better chance of running into somebody else that they know. So by having them pick the neighborhood eatery by their office, maybe you meet the person that they share a suite with who you didn't otherwise know. Maybe you meet another attorney who has an office down the hall, or something along those lines. You're giving yourself a better option or a better opportunity to not only have the 1-to-1 connection, but have like a 1-to-2 connection by making a quick run-in with somebody else or building a relationship or something along those lines. So there's a number of reasons why you do it that way. If you're into sports, this could be playing or watching. So maybe you go golfing, maybe you watch golfing, maybe you go to Topgolf, maybe you go watch a basketball game, whatever it is. I think Topgolf is a really good referral source, a really good referral place. I like it. It is outside. There's a lot of people that feel a lot more comfortable at Topgolf than they would eating lunch or something in a restaurant. You can get, 4 to 6 people in a bay. During COVID, I would suggest probably 3 to 4. Give yourself a little bit more space along those lines. They've got food, they've got drinks, and in Florida, it's covered. So there's a fan, if not air conditioning, and you are covered from the rain. I could not ask for much more during COVID than Topgolf. Obviously, you might still be in an area that's totally locked down. This isn't an option. You might still be uncomfortable meeting with other people. You might have other people being uncomfortable meeting with you in any sort of setting like that. That's totally fine. I don't fault anybody for it. Everybody has their own decision. From my perspective, my kid goes to daycare. We're still forced into court every now and then. So bubble busted, if you will. Other options, paint your own art or pottery, chocolate making, things like that where there's a little bit of, it's relatively quiet. You can talk even at a sporting event, you can talk before, you can talk during halftime, maybe during the game, it's not as good of an opportunity. But the more that you can get somebody's heart racing a little bit from a psychological perspective, that will force their body to believe that they're having fun and also help them remember the experience better. So that's why we talk about like fear cells and sex cells. Literally, it does psychologically because an increased heart rate affects the human body in that perspective. So even Topgolf, where people, it's not really a sport, it's not really overly strenuous, it's enough to get people up and moving and get the blood flowing a little bit. Watching sporting events, if you like the team, the more you do, the more it's going to affect you. From that standpoint, the more you're going to get that rush of adrenaline, the more you're going to enjoy the opportunity, the more you're going to link that to the person or people that you're with. So there's some really interesting psychological things that underline a lot of what we're talking about here. But ultimately, again, what you want to do with who you want to do it with, that is the way to go. So when connecting with referral sources, be genuine, be honest, be engaged, be interested, be present. This is not a fake it until you make it. This is you should genuinely like other human beings. And I say that and it sounds silly, but there are people that genuinely don't like other human beings. Or if they really ask themselves, they would understand that that's not for them. And if that's not you, that's okay. I just don't try to make yourself into this great super connector networking with everybody if you're going to be miserable and hate it the whole time. Like, don't, force yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but throwing you to the sharks is not going to work well for you or anybody else. So just think about it from that perspective. So when you connect with referral sources, here's what they need to know about you: your contact info for clients. And literally, I've had referral sources who I wrote down my phone number wrong. Our law firm number ends in a 9. I wrote an 8, or they wrote down an 8 instead of a 9. So they were giving people the wrong number for a while. You want one good and memorable story about your ideal client. Usually for me, again, I go back to humor. I want to have something a little bit funny. So when I was doing a lot of business law, we had a story that I would tell. Basically, there was a business that somebody got popped for selling drugs, and they brought us in to interview the other employees to find out who else was selling drugs or buying drugs. Come to find out, basically everybody was smoking weed and being high at work. But we were able to put some stuff in place. We told them where to add some cameras. We put a drug testing policy in place. We put them into a drug-free workplace. They were able to solve some of the issues. It removed their liability for future accidents. And it also, I believe, saved them money on their workers' comp insurance or something along those lines. So I would tell that story with a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more jazz. Is that story true? Not totally. It is mostly true, but for the purpose of saving client confidentiality, obviously I'm not telling them the business name, and there are some facts that are changed along those lines, but I can tell it in a way that's funny, especially because it's a relatively funny experience. And also, you have to let them know you cannot solicit leads. You have to let them know what that means, though, from their perspective. You cannot call first. You cannot call first. If your state's different, great, God bless you. It's not in most of the states that we deal with. So how can they get them in touch with you? Maybe it's copying everybody on an email. Maybe it's making sure that person calls you first. Feel out with what you're comfortable with, figure out what your state ethics opinions are, etc. What you need to know about them, who they currently send these leads to. You don't really actually have to know who that person is, but ideally you want them to be sending these sort of cases to somebody. Doesn't really matter who it is, but you want them to be sending these cases to somebody. Why? Because that means that they are, 1, finding potential opportunities, and 2, going out of their way to get those to an attorney. You need to know if you genuinely like them. If you genuinely like them, if you think that they're going to send you 100 cases, but they're a jerk, not going to be a great fit for you long term. Maybe in the short term, you still stay connected, but in the long term, weed yourself into doing what you want to do with who you want to do it with. And then, I don't know, just anything else, literally everything else, their entire life story, anything to build a genuine relationship with them. It's not about you, it's about them. So make it about them. Make the questions about them. Make the conversation about them. Have them talk about themselves. Ask, there's a bunch of good questions you can ask them about that. I usually like asking them something like, not what do you do, but tell me how, what's your origin story? Tell me how you became to be the go-to so-and-so in our area, whatever it is. Because that, I think, gives people that little bump of courage, and it's asked in a slightly different way where you get a lot more of a honest answer than well, what do you do? Or, how did you go to school for this? Or how did you get where you're going? Think about some of those questions. And the best thing that you can do is, as you ask people good questions, remember them, write them down. As other people ask you great questions, remember them, write them down, and take notes about the whole experience. Take notes on them. Nothing will kill a relationship better than when they talk to you about their son for 20 minutes, and then the next time you circle back to them, you're like, hey, how's your daughter doing? Or they don't have kids, and you ask them about their kids. Or they only have one, and you ask them about their multiple children, or whatever it is along those lines. I guess I'm stuck on kids because I have a 3-year-old whose birthday is tomorrow. So we've been stuck in that. But whatever it is, maybe you keep forgetting what town they're from. Maybe if you keep forgetting what sports team they like, whatever it is. If you have a phone, you can take notes on their contact in your phone. It's always there. If you have a CRM, you can take notes in the CRM. For us, we try to ask all our referral sources, like favorite sports team, favorite restaurant, hobbies, things like that, because when we're trying to send that targeted gift, it's a lot easier to do that by having that information from them. All right, so this is the Florida connecting with referral sources. I'm going to skip the Florida rules in here. So once you have the person, once you built that relationship, you have to work to stay top of mind. Top of mind means you are following up with them. You are actually doing the things you told them that you would do. For example, if you told them at the lunch, hey, I'm going to connect you with so-and-so, I think it'd be a great fit. Make sure you do it and do it in a timely manner. And if you forget to do it and send a sorry, my bad, I thought I'd already done this, or whatever the reasoning is. Actually do what you told them you're going to do, because that's how you're going to show them. I don't even want to say that you have value, because every human has value. But if they can't take you at your word, how are they going to know you? How are they going to trust you to do the right thing for your clients if you're telling them you'll do something and then you don't do it? So it's not even really about anything more than building trust, because if somebody tells you they're going to do something and they don't do it, are you still going to trust them? Probably not. So provide value to referral sources. How can you help them with their business? Maybe you can teach them about how clients intersect. Maybe you can have them on a podcast, or do a joint video, or write blogs on each other's websites, or something along those lines. Like whatever you can do to provide value. Another thing that I like is sending newsletters to, maybe it's to clients, maybe it's to referral sources, maybe it's to both, maybe it's only to one, hosting parties and events, texting them, sending them articles that are helpful for them, whatever it is. In your iPhone, for those of you that have iPhones, in your favorites, you can list 50 people in your favorites. So let's say you want to get 50 referral sources. Those numbers would seem to line up pretty well. Even if you carve out 5 or 10 for close family and friends, then you still have 40 spots for referral sources. And then, when you're bored, when you have some downtime, when something crazy interesting has happened, go down your list and see who it applies to. And maybe there's some. We shared an article on our firm page about somebody who threw a gator into a Wendy's today. And so if I had people on my list that I know like animals, or find that funny, or love the Florida man stories, I would pass that on to them, something along those lines. Remember, you're trying to provide value to them. So this is not a, hey, send me more business. This is not a, I haven't got referrals from you in a while. This is not, about you. It's about them. It's about providing value for them. So still not sure what to do? Cheat. That's right. I am a lawyer telling other lawyers to cheat. Don't lie, don't steal, but cheat. So people that you refer to, ask yourself why. What are they doing? Why do I always think of them? Why are they top of mind for me? How can I flip that for myself so other people feel that way about me? There is an attorney in town that I send all of my medical malpractice stuff to. We do personal injury, but not med mal. And for the most part, it all goes to the same person, because every time the situation arises where I have a med mal issue, I think of this person. Why? They're great at their job. They're super nice. They're very helpful to answering questions for me. I consider them a mentor and an advisor just as much as a referral source. They put on great events. They've connected me with a bunch of people. They keep me on a newsletter that provides a ton of value for me, in that they go through pretty much all of the updates on civil law for all the appeals in Florida, which I then pass to our personal injury team. So they are up to date on all of the appeals and the changes in there, and probably a million other things that I'm not thinking of right now. But when the situation arises, that person is top of mind for me for medical cases. Also, they are very hyper-focused. They don't take general personal injury, med mal, and catastrophic injury type stuff. So we don't have the same overlap. It gives us great collaboration opportunities, etc. Then play the game in reverse. Who do you know that you don't send cases to, and why? For example, there's a couple of people I went to law school with that I really liked in law school, and I really still like, and they're great attorneys, and they're super smart, and they're wonderful at their jobs. Maybe they're board certified, maybe they're made partner, whatever it is. But for whatever reason, as unintentionally as possible, when a case comes up that is their type of case, I never think of them. Why? Because they don't reach out, because they don't have me on a newsletter, because they're not checking in with me, because they don't send us business, because, again, a million things that they could do to stay top of mind. And I really don't mean this from the standpoint of like, it has to be a tit for tat. Not at all. What I'm saying is I genuinely do not think of them when the moment strikes. And like, I will refer the case to somebody else, and then a week later, I will happen to see a post on social media, or they'll be in the Florida Bar Journal or something along those lines, and I will feel so terribly about not having referred them that prior case, but genuinely, I totally forgot about them in that moment. Which is, again, not to say that I forgot about them in period, not to say that they don't have value, just in that moment when I was on the phone with somebody, when the staff asked me for a referral, when I got the message on Facebook, I did not think of them to be the one to send it to. And so that's what you have to get over. You have to get as many people as possible where you are the one they think of when the need arises, not when the mood strikes, but when the need arises. So what do you do when you get a referral? Florida says you cannot give anything of value to a person for recommending your services, including other lawyers. So I don't think a handwritten note from me has any value. I actually think it has negative value because I paid for it and I paid for the stamp and they can't reuse the stamp, so it has no value to them. Hypothetically, if I was super rich and famous and my signature was worth a bunch of money, maybe I couldn't send a handwritten thank you note, but I don't think any of us watching this, listening to this are in that boat. So I would suggest sending a thank you card. Also, send a referral fee if applicable. And in other states, you can send nominal gifts. The ABA rule allows for nominal gifts. I would think about sending a nominal gift. I would be really hesitant about sending alcohol due to the amount of abuse in the legal industry. But if you know somebody really well enough to know that they really love Napa Valley red wines, then I would send them a nice bottle, a nominal bottle for referral, something along those lines, whatever your state allows. Again, referral fees. All right. So what do you do next? You have your ideal client, you have your ideal referral source, you've connected with them, you built the relationship, and now they have actually sent you a case. So keep the referral source updated on the case as allowed. There are certain requirements in Florida for referral fees. You have to keep them up to date on cases. There are other situations where you have confidentiality and cannot keep them up to date. Number one, a bunch. All right, we'll have to fix the numbering on this. Do an amazing job on the case. Like that should be the table stakes. That should be the very beginning of it. That should be like the bare minimum. Close the case as best as you ethically can. Again, table stakes. That should be common for everybody. Ask the client to rave to the referral source about you. It is one thing for me to tell people how great I am. It is another thing for their referral to go back to them and confirm how great of a job we did, and then obviously ask them for a review. So update the referral source, do a great job, have the referred client let the referral source know how great it's going, and try and get a review. Asking for reviews, Florida rule. So a review, look at it this way, is really just a referral from somebody that you don't know. A review is really just a referral from somebody that you don't know. And in many respects, I think an online review is almost more impactful because here's some random person in the ether sharing information about you, and ideally at scale. I want to say my firm probably has 120 reviews, 150 reviews, somewhere in there. So that's 100-something people that took time out of their day and out of their life to write us a review. The overwhelming majority of them are very good, 5-star reviews with a bunch of information about them. Some of them not so good. But to some extent, I think that actually makes them seem more real because there are a few duds in there. I don't think anybody expects a business to be perfect 100% of the time. But if a business at the time, often people will take that risk. So a lot of studies have shown that a 3 to 5 to 4.5 out of 5 review is actually more sought after from a quantity standpoint than the quality of having straight 5-star reviews. Something to keep in mind. By no means am I telling you to solicit bad reviews. Don't do that, but they will probably happen. Just bury them among other great reviews. You will get that crazy client that will read through 50 of your reviews and they'll find like one bad one. And for the most part, your bar doesn't let you respond or doesn't let you give insight to that client anyway. So you really have to fall back on like, look, yes, there have been clients who have been unhappy, but we've handled, 1,000 cases, 10,000 cases, 100 cases, whatever. We have, 85 5-star reviews. We've got 3 bad ones. So, are you willing to take that risk? And most people should be. So how do you get more referrals? You can ask, what can I do to get more referrals from you? I don't really like this question. What I like is, what else can I do for you? Or how else can I help you grow your business? Probably ideal, but ultimately something around the concept of getting more referrals from them, which goes into meeting their contacts as well as the reverse, introducing them around. Think about new referral sources. Ask clients who they go to for X. Send random gifts. And when you do that, have your assistant call their assistant, send the assistant a gift to. We have gotten a number of cases for, like we sent birthday cards out or birthday gifts out to some other attorneys. we sent a $5 gift card to the assistant for letting us know that they like X, Y, and Z or this restaurant or whatever it was, or $10 gift card. I have had referrals from the assistants because they got nothing ever except for our, $10 Starbucks card or $10 Target card or whatever it was. It left an impression on them more than sending, a $150 bottle of scotch to somebody that I've known for 10 years since law school who got, a bunch of gifts for their birthday. So something to consider along those lines. Build a tribe, a herd, raving fans. This is usually really good on social media. It's great during COVID, or at least while we are all locked down remote. Try to build that online raving fans. We had somebody the other day post in one of the Facebook groups that was interested in potentially working with us, wanted to know what other people thought. We were, I guess, lucky enough, certainly thankful enough, if not lucky enough, to have 4 or 5, half a dozen people comment about how great we were to work with and how much they enjoyed it. Made it really easy for us to continue that sales pitch because I have random people, well, I guess not random people, I have former clients coming out of the woodwork to share how great we were to work with. Make the referrals a consistent system. Maybe that's you call people on certain days. Maybe that's you send gifts for certain holidays, whatever it is. Find a mentor, or mentors. Ideally, you want ones that do what you do, that don't do what you do, that are lawyers, that do other things. Get a different group of people together. Put together a mastermind, host events, have people bring people that you don't already know. And what else? There's going to be a million different ways to do this. Newsletter, contacting people, doing GAS, give a poop calls to other people, a million different ways. Just think about what you can do to get more referrals. Something that we've done recently for a lot of clients, we have started doing advertising campaigns geared around referrals. So not that we are rewarding referral sources, but if your best cases come from other lawyers, then we've started running ads to other lawyers in your area that says, hey, my name's so-and-so, I do this. Let's hang out. Let's build a connection. Let's see, we'll have clients in common, whatever it is. So that's something else you can do to get more referrals. So use social media, join referral groups. On the referral groups, see who don't have already go-to referrals and then connect with them offline. Maybe that's Zoom for now. Maybe that's lunch for later. Share successes and failures online with people. My wife, God bless her, much better attorney than me, lost a trial. I don't know, at this point a couple of years ago, like first trial she had lost in 10, 15 trials, and just posted about it. And it was a total loser of a case, and there's nothing we could have done, and whatever it was, that got so much more engagement than like, oh, I won a trial. Because people were like, oh my God, it's so amazing that you shared that you lost. Obviously, don't share if you're losing every day. Hopefully you're not losing every day, but it made her seem human, and it showed people the true her. So 6 months later, who's sending you business? Can you do something for them ethically? If you can't, you can't. Who's sending you leads that don't hire? Talk to them about the process, get some more information about it. Who's connecting you with other people who send you business? Sometimes those are the best. Somebody who sends you 5 cases a year is great. Somebody who connects you with 5 people that send you 5 cases a year sends you 25 cases a year, which is that much better. So who's not doing anything? Why? Are you doing stuff for them? Maybe it's time to find somebody else. Maybe it's time to circle back with them. Maybe it's some time to check in. Maybe it's time to be friends. Again, there's nothing that requires you to not be friendly with your referral sources or have all your referral sources be friends or vice versa. Excuse me. If you're going to hold people who you spend money on to sending you 1 case a year, let them know they have 6 months, send you a case, connect you with somebody, or move on. If you don't want to do it, no problem. Like if they are great and fantastic at their job and you want to stick with them, totally fine. Not an issue. This is not a Jordan Ostroff thing. This is something that a coaching group does that I think has potential when done correctly, the right way. But there it is. So need more help? Follow us on Facebook, give us a call, email me. And I don't know if the CLE number is still around. If it is, you do have to go back and read the other questions, and you have to watch this for about an hour, which we should be pretty close. So with that, thank you all so much for listening. If you want the slides, legalease.com/referrals, legalease.com/referrals. Coming up, I'm going to talk about our next 2 episodes. This Thursday on 3/4 at 1:30, right back here, we have our best of recap episode, which will go over the last quarter of our Exhibit A shows and highlight some of the best answers, the best insight, the best information. That will be next Thursday, 3/4 at 1:30. And then on Monday, 3/8, next Monday, 3/8 at 1:30, we will have Siobhan Olivero on. And Siobhan is going to talk about growing your law firm to new heights in 2021. In between now and next Monday, this Thursday afternoon, Siobhan and I will be hosting a Clubhouse room. We will put more information here as it is available, but we will be talking with other lawyers about tips and tricks on Clubhouse. And then Monday, 3/8 at 1:30, Siobhan will be on to talk about how you grow your law firm to new heights in 2021. So with that, thank you all so much. Again, if you're interested in getting this slide, it is legalesemarketing.com/referrals. You'll get the slides as well as the 3 downloads in here. And with that, thank you all so much. I will see you live next week on 3/8, but I hope you will join us for our best of show on Thursday, 3/4 at 1:30 Eastern. With that, have a wonderful day. Bye.